Surrendering what wasn't authentically me felt so vulnerable. Though the change scared me, there was no turning back. Still, learning that I didn't need to shrink or pretend I was something I wasn't. After thinking I'd die with a mask glued on my face, was the first time I felt alive. Reborn in the joy and relief of living.
Is so wonderful. It's so special. It's so fantastic. It's a collection of stories, a collection of expressions, a collection of experiences in this beautiful spoken word, poetic kind of way, but also paired with visuals from animation to performances, live and also scripted. Um, Beautiful. I wish I could speak. I had time to speak to every single one, but I think the one that stood out to me the most was the last one, um, with the person standing on stage and describing their childhood experience, or their what I'm sure was a childhood experience, but also was experienced as in adulthood, which is, so what are you? Are you a man or a woman? And saying, well, what do you think? Um, and reminiscing on those sweet moments growing up and returning back to childhood, which was returning back to your true self before the world kind of told you who you were. Really, really spoke to me, and I really hope that that people can feel very seen um, and touched by this story and all of the ones that are featured here.
Importance of hearing the voices of LGBT individuals when crafting their stories. And in here, we're fortunate enough to get to hear them not just through speech, but through these impassioned poems and artistic pieces that fully display um, love and struggle and humanity and all these things that we need to recognize and appreciate more within a community that continues to face so much oppression and antagonistic forces.
Every story is told visually different, but there's a consistency of spoken word throughout, and also just the messaging is consistent throughout. The proclamation, yeah, it's so nicely done. I love seeing each individual way everybody express themselves. Love the animation and love that seeing things in photos, seeing things in video footage, seeing alive on stage, seeing dance, and all the others. I'm sorry if I forgot one or two, but yeah, I loved seeing all the different expressions of art in this, and everything had a consistent messaging through the voiceover. The voiceover was for each one was beautifully performed, and the lady on stage speaking also. And the dance was wonderfully done. The animation wonderfully put together, very imaginative, very abstract, and very cool. I loved it.
It was a really nice anthology of just different uh, poems about different individuals finding themselves on their trans journey. And what I loved about it was just seeing the imagery coincide with the poetry. It very much helped to amplify that passion and that feeling, all the emotions that they would go through. Um, it really helped to encapsulate uh, that emotion. I feel like that's what Passion of X does a really good job of just conveying that sense of emotion that comes from these poems. And I think that's very powerful.
I liked the way the filmmakers, they kind of split this into, it felt like chapters. And that each chapter was its own kind of story, its own thing. I liked the way they used special effects on some of the framing for some of it. I loved the voiceovers. I thought that those were really cool. The art and animation that they used in the beginning for one of the first kind of stories, that was great. Stories that each person was telling was really meaningful, and it was really, really good. And yeah, great cinematography, great editing. I enjoyed this.
Great way to show spoken word poetry, slam poetry, or just poetry in general, and really complemented beautifully with the visuals. I loved how there was different artistic mediums, and it really brought the poetry to life on screen in a really cool way that I enjoyed.